Ever wish you could, like, beam up some leadership advice, straight from the Starship Enterprise?
Uh-huh.
Well, today we're diving deep into Make It So leadership lessons from Star Trek, The Next Generation.
Okay.
We're going to see what wisdom a certain Captain Jean-Luc Picard can offer us, more earthbound folks.
I think what's so fascinating about this book is it takes this fictional world and it uses it to illuminate these very real leadership principles.
Yeah.
Almost like sneaking in a valuable lesson with your entertainment,
It's like a spoonful of sugar helps the leadership advice go down.
Exactly.
So for anyone who hasn't beamed aboard this book yet, it's from 1995.
Okay.
By Wess Roberts and Bill Ross. Now, Roberts, he's got a PhD. He's a former Army major.
Wow.
The guy knows leadership firsthand, right? And then you've got Ross. Ross is a TB executive, so he knows how to tell a captivating story.
Yeah.
So I'm already kind of intrigued by this pairing.
That's what makes them so uniquely qualified to write this book. I mean, you've got these two different worlds.
Right.
They've combined their expertise, I think, to make something both insightful and engaging. It's not just another dry leadership book.
Right.
It uses this world that we know, Star Trek, to really breathe life into those principles.
Exactly. Like, they don't just talk about leadership in the abstract. They use classic Star Trek, the Next Generation episodes, as like case studies to show how Picard embodies different leadership qualities, right? But here's the thing. Even though it's from the 90s, the book tackles these timeless challenges. Focus, communication, making tough calls under pressure.
Yeah.
Things that, let's be honest, we still face today in 2024.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm thinking, even if you don't know your Romulan from a Tribble, this book might hold some surprising relevance, right?
Totally. I mean, these are universal human challenges. They're just dressed up in, a Starfleet uniform.
Right.
If you think about it, even in the 24th century, they still need effective communication, they need decisive action, and they need a way to inspire a team.
Right.
And these are all things that any leader, no matter their field, are grappling with.
Yeah, it's like they're dealing with like intergalactic treaty negotiations. We're dealing with Tuesday's staff meeting.
Exactly.
But it's the same principles at play, right?
Same principle as
finding those timeless truths hiding in plain sight.
Yes.
Even in a fictional world. Now, the book itself is structured around 9 core leadership qualities.
Okay.
And each one is exemplified through Picard's actions in specific episodes.
Oh, interesting.
And this is where Roberts and Ross, I think, get really clever with their episode choices.
How so?
Well, for example, they use the episode The Drumhead to illustrate this idea of intellectual honesty.
Oh.
Picard has to stand firm against these unfounded accusations.
Right.
It's a powerful lesson in integrity, and that's something that applies whether you're on a starship or in a boardroom, right?
Totally. I think seeing those familiar scenarios through this new lens can really highlight those leadership principles at play.
It's like, oh, I've been in that situation. I just didn't have like a phaser to deal with it. So instead of us beaming up all 9 of these qualities, right? Let's focus on a few that might really resonate with you, the listener.
Sounds good.
What do you think about if we start with resilience?
Okay. I mean, things change so fast these days, right?
Yeah.
Feeling prepared to bounce back from anything seems, feels pretty relevant, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the world is moving at warp speed, and resilience is absolutely crucial for navigating all these unexpected challenges.
Right. So think about it. How do you, the listener, how do you approach setbacks?
Right.
Do you let those things derail you, or do you use them as fuel to kind of like push forward?
Right.
So let's go back to Picard for a second.
How does this guy who faces down, galactic threats on a regular basis, how does he actually demonstrate resilience on the Enterprise?
Well, take the episode, for example, Chain of Command.
Okay.
Picard is captured.
Oh, boy.
He's tortured, yet he never truly breaks.
He's tough.
He is. He maintains his composure. He maintains his sense of self.
Wow.
And ultimately, he uses his wit and incredible resilience to escape.
That's performing under pressure.
Right.
But how do we take that kind of resilience, right, of facing down a Cardassian interrogation,
Right,
and translate that to, like, I don't know, a Monday morning meeting that's gone completely off the rails?
It's all about tapping into that inner strength. That ability to remain calm in the midst of chaos.
Yeah.
And it's about reframing those setbacks as opportunities for growth.
Okay.
So imagine approaching that difficult meeting with that same resolve that Picard showed. And it's not about being emotionless. It's not about not having feelings.
Right.
It's about recognizing the situation and then choosing how you react.
Choosing how you react, finding your inner Picard.
Right.
It's almost like a superpower, right?
It is. It's a superpower we all have within us. Now, shifting gears a bit.
Okay.
How about we explore a quality that's a bit less about, weathering the crisis and more about everyday leadership?
Sounds good. What are you thinking?
Communication.
Okay.
It might seem kind of mundane compared to, battling the Borg, but it's really the foundation of effective leadership. And Roberts and Ross actually do a fantastic job of really breaking this down.
Oh, absolutely. Because, even on the Enterprise, if communication breaks down, you're talking potential warp core breach.
Oh, exactly.
And in our daily lives, poor communication leads to misunderstandings, missed deadlines, just a whole lot of frustration.
It does.
So give me an example. How do they use Picard to illustrate what good communication actually looks like?
Well, they point to the episode Darmok.
Okay. Yeah.
So remember, Picard is stranded with this alien captain who speaks entirely in metaphors.
Right. It's like they're speaking two totally different languages.
Exactly.
It's like, what is going on?
And it's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
But Picard, he doesn't give up.
He doesn't.
He keeps trying to understand, to bridge that communication gap.
Right.
And eventually he succeeds.
He does. He figures it out.
He does.
That's such a great example because it highlights that communication isn't just about speaking clearly.
Right.
It's about truly listening.
Yes.
Understanding different perspectives.
Yes.
Finding that common ground.
Yes.
It's about meeting people where they are.
Exactly.
Just like Picard did with that alien captain.
Yes.
Now, have you ever had a moment where you realized you and someone else were basically just speaking different languages?
Oh, all the time. All the time.
Even if you were both speaking English?
Yes. It's like that scene in...
It's like we're all just trying to decipher each other's, secret codes sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Even in everyday conversations, right?
Right.
But, beyond those kind of, tricky communication scenarios, there's another quality that I think is, crucial for any good leader.
You're right. And Roberts and Ross highlight this one brilliantly.
Okay. Competence.
Competence.
Yes.
Okay, so on the surface, that seems pretty straightforward, right?
Right.
Be good at your job, know your stuff.
Right.
But how does that actually play out in, the world of Star Trek?
Yeah, it goes deeper than just having the knowledge, It's about inspiring confidence in your team.
Okay.
Showing them that you have the skills and the judgment to handle, whatever comes your way. Take the episode Relics.
Okay.
And Scotty beams aboard.
Oh, Scotty.
Right?
Everybody loves Scotty.
He's a legend.
Yeah.
Fantastic engineer. But he's used to a much more, hands-on approach. Right. And now he's dealing with technology that's, way more advanced than what he's used to on the Enterprise deal.
Exactly. And Picard recognizes this. And what's interesting is he doesn't push Scotty aside. He doesn't make him feel irrelevant.
Right.
He finds a way to utilize Scotty's unique experience and expertise.
Huh.
And I think that probably resonates with a lot of people listening, right? Have you ever been the old hand in a new environment?
Oh.
Right? And it's about a leader's ability to respect the experience that people bring to the table.
Yeah, that's such a valuable lesson, I think, for any leader. Because it's not just about, barking orders, right? It's about creating an environment where everyone feels empowered to contribute, to share their strengths.
Absolutely, yeah. It's about fostering that culture of trust and respect where everybody feels valued for what they bring.
So competence then is about more than just individual skill then.
Yes.
It's about how you empower those around you.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, we've talked about some of the strengths of this book, but, it was written in 1995.
Right.
Technology has advanced.
It is.
Leadership styles have evolved. So how do Roberts and Ross, how do they kind of address those changes over time?
I think that's where their focus on these timeless principles becomes even more important.
Okay.
So while the specific situations that we face might change, the core of good leadership, I think, remains relevant.
Right.
But think about it. So even though we're not facing down Romulan warbirds, the lessons about communication, resilience, competence, they still apply.
Right. It's like those core principles, those hold up no matter what century you're in.
Exactly.
But I mean, come on, in 1995, nobody was leading like remote teams across different time zones. Nobody was dealing with AI in the workplace.
Right.
Do Roberts and Ross address any of those like more, I guess, contemporary leadership challenges?
Not directly.
Oh, okay.
But they emphasize adaptability throughout the book.
Okay.
You know, Picard is constantly facing these unexpected situations that require him to think on his feet, to adjust his approach.
Right.
And that is a skill that's more relevant than ever, don't you think?
It makes you wonder, like, what would Captain Picard do in a Zoom meeting that's gone, like, totally haywire?
Right.
Right.
I think he would find a way to mute the right people at the right time.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. But seriously, I think the book encourages us to see these classic leadership qualities as adaptable tools.
Okay.
So we can apply them to the challenges we face today, even if those challenges look a bit different.
So even though the book uses this fictional world as a jumping off point,
right,
it still speaks to those very real, sometimes messy aspects of leadership.
It does.
It's giving me some food for thought. I'm curious, though.
Yeah.
Is there anything, even with its focus on, you know, timeless principles, is there anything that this book doesn't quite capture?
That's a great question. One thing that comes to mind is that, you know, there's a potential pitfall in relying too heavily on fictional examples. Right. As inspiring as Captain Picard is, he's still a fictional character. And we have to remember that real-world leaders, I mean, they're human. They make mistakes. They have flaws.
Right, right.
And that's okay.
It's important to keep that in mind.
It is.
Right, like we can't expect to find like a perfect Picard-like leader in the real world because those idealized figures only exist in fiction.
Exactly.
So how do Roberts and Ross, how do they kind of avoid making Picard seem like this like flawless leadership deity?
Well, they actually highlight moments where Picard struggles.
Okay.
Where he faces ethical dilemmas or where he makes, you know, tough decisions that maybe he grapples with. And I think it's a good reminder that even the best leaders aren't infallible.
Right.
And that's what makes them relatable.
It's about the journey.
It is.
Like, it's about learning and adapting along the way. And maybe that's a valuable lesson in and of itself.
Right.
Right. Leadership isn't about, like, perfection. It's about, like, striving to be a little bit better.
Better every day.
Every day than you were yesterday.
Yes. It's that continuous growth mindset, I think, that sets good leaders apart.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think one of the most surprising things about this book is that it's not just about Star Trek.
Okay.
You know, the authors connect these leadership principles to history, to business, even to personal growth.
You know, now that you mention it, I was struck by how they weave together these, like, seemingly disparate threads, right? Like, you'll have a centuries-old military strategy, a modern-day business challenge, and then a scene from the Enterprise, all to illustrate, like, a single concept.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
It is.
It's like they uncovered this hidden code, this universal language of leadership that just transcends time and genre.
It really is. Like, it makes you realize that that leadership wisdom, it can kind of pop up in the most unexpected places.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes that shift in perspective, you know? Seeing a familiar concept through this, like, totally different lens to really drive the point home.
Absolutely. I think it also reminds us to stay curious.
Yeah.
You know, to look for insights beyond our usual sources and be open to finding those aha moments in unexpected places.
Right. It's like that saying, everything's a leadership lesson if you're paying attention.
Yeah.
Maybe our next, like, great insight will come from, I don't know, a podcast or a conversation with a mentor or even, dare I say it, a sci-fi show. Yeah. So as we're kind of wrapping up our deep dive into Make It So, what's the one big takeaway you'd want our listeners to kind of walk away with?
You know, for me, it's that leadership isn't about fitting into some rigid mold or having all the answers.
Right.
It's really about embracing that lifelong learning journey, being adaptable and always striving to be just a little bit better today than we were yesterday.
I love that.
Right.
And maybe, just maybe, looking to inspiring figures, even fictional ones like Captain Picard, can give us that extra bit of courage, you know, and guidance to really pursue our own leadership journeys.
Right.
To boldly go where we might not have thought possible before.
To boldly lead.
To boldly lead.
To boldly learn.
To boldly learn and to boldly make it so in our own unique ways.
I love it.
That's a perfect place to end this deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the world of Star Trek leadership. And until next time, may your leadership be out of this world.